Hello, everyone. Dr. Victoria Skirbo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. So we're going to be looking at the astrology of the upcoming 2 weeks. Usually I go a week at a time. First week of March was there was quite a lot happening. There isn't too much happening on the second week, although, of course, all the energies from the previous week are still sort of in play, so that doesn't change. But I thought I would add, we would do the second and the third week. That is the time that the sun is still in Pisces. And then by the beginning of the fourth week, the sun moves into Aries, and that will be, of course, the equinox here. In the northern hemisphere, it'll be the spring equinox, and in the southern hemisphere be the autumnal equinox, a point of balance. So that's important as well. So these next 2 weeks are sort of wrapping up the astrological year as the sun continues its journey through Pisces and then moves out of Pisces. So let's get started. We're going to start from kind of where we left off last time we discussed this. So let me find my what I need to look for here. So just a quick review of the first week of March, not that we could forget it. We started the month off with the sun making a sextile to Uranus. This is an opportunity for progressive change. So we were sort of in the energy of sort of moving forward in a more progressive, more Aquarian, more humanitarian direction. There was an opportunity for that happening. We also had on the second, we had Mercury make its annual conjunction to Saturn. It occurred at 19 degrees of Aquarius. A forest fire is being subdued by the use of water, chemicals, and sheer muscular energy. The skill and courage necessary to bring under control the destructive potential of carelessness, of karmic visitations. So this pretty much points to what was going on with Putin and the Ukraine, of course. And then we also had the new moon on that day. This is a very powerful new moon in that the moon and the sun were conjunct Jupiter in Pisces. Jupiter is one of the ruling planets of Pisces. So it brought a lot of Jupiterian, expansive Piscean energy, which can manifest itself in many ways. Pisces can be fear and phobias, and so we can have this great onslaught of fear. It can be healing and compassion, and we have a great onset of that. And as we have experienced it, because this happened last week, we had both. Oh, and one more thing about the Sabian symbol about that day. An ancient sword used in many battles, displayed in a museum. Through the effectual use of his will, a consecrated man can become a symbol of courage for all those who follow in his footsteps. And of course, this alludes to Zelensky, kind of a Arthurian character in all of this. Arthurian character as in Arthur himself. Okay, on the third, the next day, and this was when the Soviet Union attacked the nuclear power plant, the largest one in Europe, the largest one, of course, in the Ukraine, where it happens to be. We had Mars make a conjunction to Pluto at 28 degrees of Capricorn. The Sabian symbol for 28 degrees of Capricorn, a large aviary. This really speaks of an aviary is an enclosure that has many different birds, and many different birds sing many different songs. And it's really about being aware that everybody has a different song, and yet we're still sort of living in the same aviary, as it were. The other significant point to this is that this is the degree of the Pluto, the United States Pluto. And so the United States takes a lead really in this energy of what's happening in the world right now. And of course, we can't forget that Venus was moving along with Pluto, and on the same day, Venus made the same conjunction at the same degree. Now, the interesting thing and the difference between Venus making that conjunction is this was actually the third time Venus met up with Pluto. Um, and the conjunction to Mars is the last time that Pluto and Mars are going to make a conjunction in um, in Capricorn for another 248 years. So this really, this new moon, this day of this new moon, um, is really in a way a starting point for the way in which we relate to one another, because Venus and Mars deals with relationship. Now, Venus and Mars had previously, at the end of in February, had made a conjunction to each other at 17 degrees of Capricorn. But because Venus was coming out of her retrograde cycle and she was very slow, and Mars was moving at its normal pace, Mars sort of took the lead, meeting Pluto again one more time. And then Venus came in for that third time, almost like Venus had an opportunity to talk to Pluto three times a charm, right? Um, while Mars got his marching orders and like that sort of one-hit wonder. But we do have to take into consideration that Mars has been making conjunctions to Pluto since 2008. So every 2 years, it would go probably about 2 degrees through that period of time. And through that period of time, Mars conjunct Pluto, it's about making the world soul, our collective soul. What is it that our collective soul is here to learn? Well, Pluto Pluto um, Pluto evolves through its polarity point. So it's really what's opposite Pluto, which is the direction that we need to put our attention. And that's Cancer. And Cancer is about our feelings. And Cancer is about the feminine and birth and life and clan and that which brings emotional security and understanding that. Right. So through this period of Pluto moving through Capricorn, we've had to learn how to be emotionally stable in a very physically unstable world. Okay. So, and then on Saturday, we had the sun make its conjunction to Jupiter. Remember, Jupiter is real close to that new moon. So a few more days, the sun makes a conjunction to Jupiter, and it says 15 degrees of Pisces, and often instructing his men before a simulated assault under a barrage of live shells. A need for thorough rehearsing before any complex, inherently dangerous social ritual which power is used or evoked. Valorization, the concept of group value dominates the entire scene. So there's this sense of, sending out the troops, but the idea is of this sort of group value. And we certainly have seen that happen with what happened after Putin invaded the Ukraine, how the world has come together in ways that no one expected and that hadn't been done before. So this is all very much this new energy that's coming, this much more Aquarian, humanitarian, group-oriented energy. So this is how we start this second and third week, right? So let's look at the second week. The first thing that happens, today is the 6th, it's happening, it actually already happened, is that Mars ingresses into Aquarius, followed by Venus ingressing into Aquarius. Once they have moved into Aquarius, barely into Aquarius, they make a conjunction at 1 degree of Aquarius, but not like just 1 degree of Aquarius. 0, 0, 0, 0 degrees, 0, 1 minute of Aquarius. You can barely get closer to just stepping your little toe into Aquarius. This is where this conjunction is occurring. And of course, Venus and Mars deals with our ability to relate to one another. These are the two planets associated with relationship. In a natural chart, it rules the first house, and it rules the seventh house, it rules the second house, and it rules the eighth house. So who we are and who we relate to, what we value, and those values that we share, this is what's happening. Not only is that true, but the nodes of the moon right now are in Venus and Mars ruled signs. The north node is in the Venus ruled sign of Taurus. The south node is in a Mars ruled sign of Scorpio. So this is an extra important time, and we can feel it. It's not like this is, I'm saying this to you, but you're like, yeah, I know that. I can see what's going on. I can feel it. This is what the stars are directing us towards. 1 degree of Aquarius, an old adobe mission in California, the power inherent in all great human works to endure far beyond the worker's lifespan. Saturn, the classical ruler of Aquarius, is at 20 degrees of Aquarius when we have this conjunction. And it says, a large white dove bearing a message, the answer of spiritual agencies through sustained and victorious individual effort. So this is about your supplications to spirit, what you're focusing on to spirit. And many people in this situation are focusing on peace coming to the Ukraine. Now, of course, the Ukraine is being focused upon. There are many places in the world that are not at peace and are being treated even worse than the Ukrainians. But the Ukrainians are the ones that we are aware of. They are the most obvious that are there. And so we watch their plight, and we have to come to the realization that we can't do this anymore. Uranus is also the ruler of Aquarius. And Uranus is at 12 degrees of Taurus, a young couple window shopping. Let me see, I can't really read this. I got to move something here. The fascination of the youthful ego with the products of its culture. So we have this energy, right? The first degree of Aquarius is about those things that stand the test of time, are a testament to the culture beyond the normal lifespan of a human being. But then we have the energy of 20 degrees of Aquarius with this white dove sending us a message that our prayers are being heard, along with a young couple window shopping. The kids of today they're not going to stand for this. They understand what it feels like, if not physically to be free, mentally to be free, ideas to be free. And so even though there are places in the world that, like North Korea, where that door is shut for them, but Russia, it's not quite as shut. And there are a lot of really good computer people in Russia. So I'm sure they know how to get around some of the things that the Russian government has put up. But the Russian government is actually coming down pretty hard on Russians. They don't want them saying anything. They don't want them out in the street. They don't want revolution. Revolution, according to Masha Gerson, is the thing that people in the street are the thing that Putin fears the most. You should check that out, by the way. So if we look here, we have this conjunction between Venus and Mars at that 0001 degree of Aquarius. Another reason why this is especially important is because back at the end of 2020, remember 2020, the year from everything happened in 2020 to us and astrologically at the same time. There were things that happened in 2020 that if they had happened in any other year, there would have been like the big thing. But there were like many of those big things in 2020. And at the end of 2020, Jupiter and Saturn made their 20-year conjunction. Every 20 years they come together. It starts a new cycle of social order. And that was at 1 degree of Aquarius. Now, remember I said that Mars and Pluto are making their last conjunction. while Pluto is in Capricorn. The next time they make a conjunction, it's going to be at 1 degree of Aquarius. I kid you not. So if you're wondering when the Aquarian age is happening, it's happening right now. We're in the middle of it. This is what it feels like. This is what it feels like to be between the ages. And so we need to focus on that which we want to bring into, while letting go of those things that no longer serve our evolution. That is what Pluto helps us to do. And Pluto will be in Aquarius soon. But we do have to remember that Pluto always brings up the shadow. So if we're thinking, we're going to be jumping around in tie-dyed shirt, singing, "This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius," we may be sorely disappointed. That being said, however, we create our own reality. We co-create with spirit the life that we live. So choose well. Choose well. Okay. All right, let's see what's next. The same day, today, we have a conjunction between Vesta and Pluto. Now, I don't generally speak of Vesta, but I think it's important. And I actually don't even think Vesta is in here, but I'm sorry, I don't have the, wasn't interesting, I don't have it together. Vesta would be right here. So what is Vesta? Vesta is what we focus upon. Again, we're dealing with this 28 degrees of Capricorn, the aviary, the aviary. We also have today on Monday, Sunday the 6th, we have Mercury square the nodes of the moon. That's actually what's happening here. Here's Mercury at 2428. Here's the node, south node in Scorpio, north node in Taurus. This is actually the chart for the US. Usually I do an Aries rising chart, but I didn't, so I apologize for those people who don't live in the US. So Mercury square the nodes of the moon. Mercury is at 25 degrees of Aquarius. Symbol for that is a butterfly with the right wing more perfectly formed. It says the capacity to develop the rational and fully conscious aspect of the mind ahead of normal evolution. Really what this is talking about, if you read the actual Dane Rudger book, when he talks about this, is he's really talking about how we have sort of outstretched our logical mind, like that has gotten larger and at the expense of our intuitive mind. And we need a balance between those things. If this butterfly is ever to fly, it needs a balance and a symmetry of wing, right? And so it's about really working on our intuitive facilities and not just the logical stuff. It's not just what we see and what we're getting data from, but it is also what comes in through our intuitive facilities, right? Our psychic sensibilities, our feelings, our woman's intuition, whether you're a woman or a man, we all have it. It's just that women generally have to use it because they're usually in situations where they have to be extra careful because they're women. Okay. The resolution node to this square, whenever a planet squares the nodes, it's like you're between the past and the future, and you never quite let go of the past, you never quite move into the future. Well, the resolution node here is the south node in Scorpio. So the south node in Scorpio here. In the case of the United States, it has to do with our entanglements in foreign affairs. What do we need to let go of when it comes to our entanglements in foreign affairs? And what do we need to move towards in the direction of our own needs? So there is this sort of, in a way, backing up of the US if we allow ourselves to do that and allow the world to take on their responsibilities, more of their responsibilities. Trust that the rest of the world is going to do the right thing. One of the reasons why we want to control everything is because we're afraid that we're afraid. We have a lot of fear in this country. And of course, that's a very Cancer thing, right? When your security is being threatened. Pluto's been in Capricorn now since 2008, opposite the Cancer planets in the chart of the United States. And so we have felt like we are being attacked, even though in many of those years we were attacking other people, right? So this is part of the issue, I guess we could say. But the resolution node is that south node in Scorpio. So for us, I talked about what that meant in America, but for all of us, it's really about moving away from that Scorpio death, destruction, emotional hell, all these like shadowy things that we sort of keep, and there's so, I mean, every square inch of Europe is soaked in blood, right? In America, there's plenty of blood in the soil as well, but not the way it is in Europe, because in Europe there was a culture for so long, right? For so long. The Sabian symbol 425 degrees of Scorpio, just in case you want to know, an X-ray photograph, the capacity to acquire knowledge of the structural factors in all existence. Go back to the past and examine how we have been conditioned emotionally and how we deal with and on how we deal with our deep psychological complexes around life and death. So this is quite the exploration that we're being asked to do. As the planets move through Aquarius, they are going to square the nodes, and the resolution node is going to be the south node. At some point, many of the planets are going to be moving through Leo. When that happens, the resolution node is going to be the north node. So this period of time, as the planets move through Aquarius, we have, of course, first Mercury is there. Saturn is already square the nodes. It's going to get tighter. And then we're going to have Venus and Mars square the nodes. So there's all of these issues about having to let go before we can actually come around to the other side and start to apply our energy to the future. So we still have quite a bit of letting go to do at this time. On the 9th, which is a Wednesday, we have Mercury ingressing into Pisces. Now we have the Sun in Pisces, Jupiter in Pisces, Neptune in Pisces, and now Mercury in Pisces. So we continue this very sort of heavy or massive or huge, as we say in Brooklyn, huge humans, energy of Pisces. But again, it can be delusional, or it can be compassionate. So we get to, this is the energy that's out there. What flow do you want to get into? Do you want to go off and onto a conspiracy theory where you're going to find yourself marooned on an island with no food because it was just damn crazy to go that way? Or are you going to get into the energy of healing and compassion and helping and all those beautiful Pisces energies? Forgiveness is a big Pisces energy. So, but so is martyrdom and suffering. And so we have to be aware of where we want to put our energy. What do we want our experience to be like? We have a choice. We always have a choice. Even if you are a victim, even if you are in your basement, ducking bombs, it's a lot harder because you're like, maybe you're hungry and you're freezing and all that stuff, but it's still a choice as to how to deal with the situation that you find yourself in. We just here in the West here have a luxury. Sit back on our comfortable chairs with our flags, with our rainbow colors, and be able to look at it. And you wonder, you're like, why these people are suffering, why them, and why am I here? And there's a certain amount of like guilt, that survivor's guilt, almost like how can I, what can I do? I can't really help them. You can help them. You can live your best life. You can live your best life, shine your light, and help them in any way that you can. You can donate. You can if you don't have a lot of money, you can put time and effort into it. There are many ways to bring us together, because ultimately this is really about bringing us into the realization that we're all in this together, folks, and that if we don't start working together and relating to each other in a different way, we are not going to survive this. The earth will survive, assuming we don't blow it up, of course, um, but we will not. So on Thursday, the 10th, we have the first quarter moon. This is the first quarter crisis in action square, connected to that new moon in Pisces. We have the sun at 20 degrees of Pisces and the moon at 20 degrees of Gemini. The Sabian symbol for 20 of Pisces is a table set for an evening meal. An indication that at the end of the appointed time, the individual needs will be met among those who is linked to by spiritual or by biological web of energies. So this is about people will be taking care of people, right? Square, that 20 degrees of Gemini, a modern cafeteria displays abundance of food products of various regions, the assimilation of multifarious knowledge through the synthesizing power of the mind. One of these actually is a display of food, and one of them is a meal. And so there's a coldness, right, to that display of food. The cafeteria isn't considered the most cozy of places, very utilitarian, but not very cozy compared to the evening meal, where you walk into the house and you smell what's cooking, and you're glad you're home. You're glad you're home. So there's a square here between those two things, a push and pull between that which brings us comfort and that which sort of challenges us but continues to nurture us, because even though it's a colder environment, there's still food. So we're still getting nurtured through both of these symbols. Now let's look at week 3. On Sunday the 13th, which vibrates to a 22-4 master spiritual builder vibration, we have the sun make a conjunction to Neptune. This is the start of the synodic cycle between Neptune and the sun. The sun brings illumination and Neptune brings the dream or the illusion or the delusion. The ideal. Neptune is very idealistic, very inclusive. Includes all things. So this occurs at 23 degrees of Pisces. So how do we illuminate the dream? How do we make the dream real? How do we bring what is in our imaginations into our conscious awareness? Well, according to 23 degrees of Pisces, a materializing medium gives a seance. It says here that the ability to give one's own vital energy to substantiate one's conscious ideas or unconscious desires. The person who believes that he or she has a mission or a mandate or any specific gift that can be of value to his community must substantiate this belief. He has to produce results. Sometimes this involves difficulties and special conditions or circumstances. It always demands, to some extent, the gift of some power of value, which is deeply one's own. So what is most precious to you? And what are you willing to share? Are you willing to share that part of you with the world? Are you afraid? Are you afraid to shine your light? If we want to make the dream real, we have to shine our light. Or else how is anybody going to know where the hell to go? Like walking into a dark room. You can get through, but chances are you're gonna bruise a shin. But if the light is on, you see where the obstacles are, and you can circumnavigate the room so you don't whack yourself or fall into something or fall over something or find yourself in a corner that you can't get out of. The more light we shed, the easier it is to find our way out of the conundrums that we have created for ourselves to learn these lessons, whatever these lessons may be. For some, it's lessons around ego and the world saying no to them. For others, it's, how best to scrounge for food when there's no food around. how to care under dire circumstances, how to move where you've always lived to another place. How disorienting is that? Ask the Syrian refugees, ask the Afghani refugees, ask the Ukrainian refugees, ask any refugee. Ask your neighbor, because they're probably a refugee of some sort. And if not them, their grandfathers or their grandmothers. You know, we all have a story, especially here in America. America is a place where everybody, except for the Native Americans, have come from someplace else, some willingly and some unwillingly. So this particular Sun conjunct Neptune starts that year-long synodic cycle. And look at this chart here. Here we go. Here's the Sun and Neptune. But look at this. We have a grand trine, and it's trining the moon, and it's trining the south node. And then we have a kite to the north node. And we have a trine from Pluto to the north node. So this is actually quite magical. It's a 5-pointed star here. I don't know if you see that, but this really is an opportunity for us to go into that future and to go into the values that we hold. North node in Aquarius, North node in Taurus, Aquarius, Mercury, I'm sorry, Venus ruling Aquarius. Now Venus and Mars move through Aquarius, the ruler of the North and the South node will be in Aquarius. And so what we will see is we will see the Venus, the relationship, moving in the direction of our destiny and our values and the kind of relationships we have to make based on what's important to us, based on perhaps liberty and justice for all, based on perhaps democratic principles, Aquarius. And on the other side, we have this Aquarius also in Mars in Aquarius ruling that south node. So we have these, Aquarius is trauma. And so we can have all these traumas from the past coming up, and we might want to fight about them. We're angry about them. So we need to express that. We need to have a space to express that. Remember, Mercury is square the nodes, and the resolution node is the south node. We have to have a safe place to talk about all that. We can't feel like we're being shut down. So everybody's story counts. Everybody's story counts. On the 17th of March, happy St. Patrick's Day for those of you who celebrate. We have Mercury making a waning sextile to Uranus. Mercury and Uranus have a special relationship because Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury. Mercury is our logical thinking, discerning, organizing brain. Names things, right? And Uranus is our higher mind. It is it's our individuated unconscious. So within Uranus, we have our past lives, the past of this life, and future possibilities of this life. It holds within it all that potential. Thing is, with Uranus, when it connects, it usually comes in little like dribs and drabs, or these flashes of insight. Bing, 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 bing. I used to have a patient who had Tourette's, and lovely, lovely woman. I mean, beautiful, beautiful girl. But I would do healing. I would do energy work on her, do the reconnection on her. And what I would do is as she would lay there, and as soon as I started doing the reconnection, her tics would stop. But I could feel in her energy when she was going to get a tic, because it felt like an electrical shock in her thing. And I would feel it, and she would tic. So there's this connection, right? This Uranian connection that what was the point of that? I don't remember. But anyway, so we have this sextile, and we can see this here. where is it? See, Mercury is, here's Uranus. Uranus found that. And there's Mercury, right? No, where is Mercury? There it is. Sorry, Mercury in Pisces. This occurs at 13 degrees of Pisces, which is where Mercury is, an ancient sword used in many battles. We've talked about that. Um, and the Sabian symbol for 13 of Taurus, which is where Uranus is a porter carrying heavy baggage. Self-mobilization for social advantage. The relationship of the ego man and society has taken an aspect of compulsion for gain. Compulsion for gain. So these are the symbols that we are utilizing. It does sort of have the theme of what we're seeing with Putin and Zelensky. Zelensky being that ancient sword energy, and Putin, uh, Putin being the compulsion for gain. So we can see that. Wait till you see wait till you see the next Sabian symbol. On Friday, we have a full moon in Virgo. This is the full moon of the new moon, right? And that was in Pisces. The seeds planted in the new moon on Pisces are revealed. That day, March 2nd, 2022, was an 11 vibration. So it is a message from spirit, guys. The master number. The sun is at 28 degrees of Pisces. A fertile garden under the full moon reveals a variety of grown vegetables. The keynote here is the full satisfaction of the individual's basic needs. Wow, isn't that beautiful? The opposition, where the moon is in Virgo, the Sabian symbol is a bull-headed man who has seized power. This is the opposition. This is what we need to be aware of at this time. This is what's in the balance. The sheer power of personality in times that call for decision. We need to make a decision on how we're going to deal with this bull-headed man who has seized power. If we look at this here, we'll see that the axis that's being activated with Pluto, with the sun and the moon, of course, is the axis of Virgo Pisces, which is the axis of healing. It's also a transitional. They're transitional. The 12th house and the 6th house are transitional areas of the chart. Those signs are transitional. From when the transition of Virgo is from the transition from our experiences, our personal inner experiences with our inner world, moving to the next sign, which is Libra, which is all about our experiences in the outer world. And when we come to the other side, where we have Pisces, by the time we get to Pisces, we're in sort of that oneness of all things, moving into the next sign of Aries, which is going to be what is going to be born from that Pisces soup. So we're still at a place where the fate of things have really not been decided, but it will be up to us and what we focus on and what we shine our light upon. That's going to make the difference. And we all make a difference. We all make a difference. On Friday, the 18th, we also have the Sun sextile Pluto. This is opening the lines of communication with perhaps power. So this can be an opening of the lines of communication. This is part of the synodic cycle of the sun illuminating the sun, which is illumination, and Pluto, which is power. This occurred on January 16th of 2022 at 27 degrees of Capricorn. 27 degrees of Capricorn. So this is the first sort of opening salvo. This is like, let's open the lines of communication here from this initial symbol, right? This initial symbol at 27 degrees of Capricorn. Pilgrims climbing the steps leading to a mountain shrine. The ascent of the individualized consciousness to the highest realizations reached by spiritual leaders of its culture. This is an opening for us to communicate from a higher perspective, a more spiritual perspective. People are waking up, they're growing, and they don't want war, and they want to be able to live their lives. People want to be able to live their lives. On Saturday, the 19th, we have Venus make a last quarter square to Uranus. This is at 13 degrees of Aquarius Taurus. Now, remember, Venus had her 3 conjunctions to Pluto. She had her 2 conjunctions to Mars. She's now moving. She had that trine from Uranus. Now she moves into the square from Uranus. And this is a crisis in consciousness square. Uranus is awakening, and Taurus is what are our needs. Venus, what is, not Taurus, Venus, what is our needs? And in fact, Venus as the ruling planet of Taurus and Uranus as the ruling planet of Aquarius denotes that these 2 planets are in mutual reception. So squares tend to be very stressful, but when you have mutual reception between the two things, there's more of a flow, there's more of a connection. So while it's still a crisis and it still requires a change in thinking, it's not as hard a change as we may initially think it is. So Venus at 13 degrees of Aquarius, we have a barometer, the ability to discover basic natural facts that allow us to plan in advance for our actions. It is square, last quarter square, crisis in consciousness, with Uranus at 13 degrees of Taurus, a porter carrying heavy baggage, self-mobilization for social advantage. This also talks about in the book by Dane Rudger, which is the Sabian symbols, an astrological mandala, 360 degrees of something. Anyway, it's the classic. Just go to Mindfire. Just go to Mindfire, and it's on Mindfire. It also talks about, like, what are you carrying around? Like, what's the price of social advantage? What's the price of, I guess we could ask the oligarchs, I mean, how many mansions do you need? How much stuff do you need? Right? How much stuff do you really need? What about all those other people in need? So, and that's, this last quarter square is very much a square of humanitarianism and a need to share the wealth. Share the wealth. Okay, guys. Well, that was maybe a little bit longer than it needed to be, but I think it was valuable information. I hope you enjoyed that. I know I put a lot of stuff out today. We have, I have the Putin thing out. I have my daily astrology out. I did a high tea with Denise. You can check that out. You can check out that interview. It's Masha, M-A-S-H-A, Gessen, G-E-S-S-E-N. It's on YouTube. Just put her in. I mean, you're probably getting, if you're following this whole Ukrainian thing, you're probably seeing it anyway. It's about 2 hours long, but it really is great information on Putin stuff I didn't know. So you can check that out. You can check out my other videos. Cash Peters did an amazing video yesterday. Marianne is doing great work. Lena Rodriguez, unbelievable, always unbelievable. She always lights a fire in me. All the other readers out there, thank you for putting all your effort out there. We do know that when things go askew, you look for us, for our perspective. We're all happy to give it. Putting yourself out there is not that easy, but it's okay. This is what we do, and this is what we need to do. So I'm trying to do my part. We all do our part in the way that we can, and hopefully we'll be able to move through this period of time with ease and grace. Bless the Ukraine, bless all the places that are in war zones, bless all the people who are giving their heart and souls to help these people, and even bless the people who are creating the chaos, because they're part of us as well. And they're trying to show us something and get our attention. So let's give them our attention, and then let's give them our love, and hopefully we can get through this with the least amount of pain possible. All right, guys, take care. Much love. Namaste. And I will see you again tomorrow. Take care. Much love.